In this tutorial, I will be showing you how to draft a straight skirt and a pencil skirt. They are both different. Most people cut them the same way. But the first thing I'm going to do is to describe each one for you. A straight skirt falls straight down from the hip to the hem, maintaining a consistent width, meaning the same shape from the hip to the any desired length you want. Then a pencil skirt, on the other hand, is tailored to be fitted through the hips and thigh and then tapes towards the knee, creating a narrow pencil tip, like the tip of a pencil. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do now is I want to write out the measurement I will be needing. The hip I'll be using for this tutorial is 32 inches, while the waist is 28 inches. Then the hip line I'll be using 6 inches. Then the skirt length I'll be using 22 inches. So let's get started. I'll be cutting the pencil skirt pattern first. I will rule out a straight line. You can call it the starting line or you can call it the waistline. After ruling out the line, I will take my tape rule and measure 6 inches for the hip line. But before that, I will remove 2 inches for the band. Then I will mark the hip line, which is 6 inches. So you see me, I'll mark out the hip line. You can use 1.5 for your band, you can use 2 inches. After marking out the hip line, I will create a straight line like this. I will rule it out. I will label it hip line. Then the next thing I'm going to do now is to measure out my skirt length, which is 22 inches. Then I will mark out 1 inch for the hemming. I will rule it out. Now pay attention because I want to be bringing out the parameters. On my waistline, the first thing I'm going to do is my waist divided by 4 is 7 plus 1 inch. That 1 inch will be for the dart intake. Then on my hip line, I'll measure my hip divided by 4, which is 8.5. So pay attention at this point. To get the pencil effect for your pencil skirt, you minus 4 inches from your hip. If your hip is 34, minus 4 to give you 30. Then you divide that 30 by 4 to give you 7.5. I come again, your hip minus 4 divide by 4. Your hip measurement, your hip circumference minus 4. Any answer you get, you divide it by 4. So mine is 7.5. On my hemline, I always make an inch extra. You will see the effect at the end of the video. So I'll connect the point. Sorry, I forgot to connect the inch for the dart with the measurement. The point you see the arrow at, I forgot to connect that point. Then connect all the points together. Let the hip be curvy, no sharp edge. Do it the same way you see me doing mine. It's because I did not connect the 1 inch extra. That's why the curve is much. Remember the M extension I told you about. So I will just cut out my pattern like this. Now I will remove my skirt slope to remove excess fabric from the front. After that, I take out my dart measurement. Remember to always remove the inches you use for the band. So you can see the pencil effect. The 1 inch extension, I always put it on my sleeve or my skirt so that anytime I fold it will not be shortened at the end. So you can see the pencil effect, very penciled and slit. Look at it very well. You see from the hip it was penciled down. That effect was just for the folding in. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to cut out the back pattern. This back pattern is very easy. You are only adding your zipper allowance. So let's get started. Just watch me as I cut it. I always use 1.5 or 1 inch for my zipper allowance. If I'm using a lining with a material, I will use 1.5. If it's just a material with no lining, I will use 1. So watch me as I cut out the back pattern. Remember to add your back slope because your back is bigger than your front. So you add this slope so that there will be enough space to accommodate your back hip or your bum bum. Sorry for using that. So as you can see, this slope will make this skirt to cover your back very well. So as you can see, the pencil skirt is done. You can see the pencil effect after that edge is folded in. Now we are going to be cutting the straight skirt. The straight skirt is very easy to cut. There is no major calculation in the drafting of this pattern. I will mark out my starting point on my waistline as I did for the pencil skirt. Then I will mark out my hip line. Remember always to remove your band, the allowance for your band if you want band for your skirt. If you want elastic too, you can still do it this way. So I'm going to label my lines like I did for my pencil skirt. Now I'm going to measure out my skirt length and my hemline. I will rule it out for easy identification. Then I'll mark out my waist divide by 2 plus 1 inch for the dart allowance. I'm not adding any seam allowance to this. Then my hip divide by 4 or the hip line. My hip divide by 4 or the hip line. My hip divide by 4 on the hip line. On my skirt length too, I'm using my hip divide by 4. Anything I get, that's what I'm going to mark out on my skirt length. Do not forget. The measurement you are taking on the hip line, the measurement you take on the hip line, that's the same thing you take on your skirt length. You are just going to connect your waist to your hip line, then your hip line to your skirt length. Watch me as I do this. So I'll connect it together. As you can see from the point, if you are following me, from this hip to the skirt leg is going to be straight. It's not going to be curvy. It's going to be straight. It's okay. Let me straighten it out. It's a straight skirt, as you can see. That's just the difference between a pencil skirt and a straight skirt. A straight skirt in layman language is straight from the hip line down to any skirt length you have. But a pencil skirt is narrowed from the hip line down to the skirt length. Now I will just impute my dart and my skirt slope. Simple like ABC. Then I'll cut it out. Cut yours out, cut both out and put it side by side and see the difference. If you have watched to this point in this video, thank you for joining us. Please do like, share and subscribe. See you next time. Bye.